task in the first year of the new government because that was so important for our people. So we could not have attended to this job creation activity with vigor. Nevertheless, because of the policy we took, that is to keep the economy open whilst we address the pandemic, we have seen a resurgence of economic activity starting even in the pandemic period. And today, we have the fastest growing economy in the world. We have the fastest growing economy in the world. Not the oil sector is making a huge impact, but we have focused heavily on the non-oil growth too. That is why if you look at what the president has been speaking about and the government has been addressing, you would see a renewed focus on creating new sectors, new jobs in the agricultural sector, expanding growth in those areas in agriculture, in services, in manufacturing, in tourism, because we want a balanced economy. We recognize that maybe 20, 30 years from now, the oil and gas industry will wane. And if it wanes, we need the other sector to pick up the slack so that we don't have a dip in prosperity in the future. This is a well thought out strategy. We outlined it when we campaigned. It's part of our manifesto. So today, when I see the schizophrenia out here, and the extremism that we notice in the newspapers every day, swinging from one end to the other, in terms of policy making, the PDP cannot succumb to that. Because if we only succumb to that form of policy making, then we lose sight of the bigger goal. And the big goal is sustainability. The big goal is long-term development, however hard it is. So on the one hand, you see Rystad Energy and Exxon trying to prove that they're the best thing for Guyana, which is not so. The contract was bad. We'd have to change it in the future, but we're not going to renegotiate now. That's the middle ground. On the other hand, you have Kaichor News and a few others who said it's the worst contract in the world. That's not true too. We stand in the middle, and we're not going to be populist in orientation, because governments that are populist in orientation and say things that people only want to hear, they can never craft a sustainable policy for the country. And so when you see the PDP, we stand like a bulwark in the middle. And that is why in the 20-odd years we've been in office, you've seen this country make progress, because we have had thoughtful policy making, and we've stuck with long-term policies. We don't drift in the wind in terms of policy making. So that is very important for you, particularly those of you who would be employed here today. Now, I expect all of you to give the very best that you can. This is not free money. You have to work the 10 days that you're being paid for. You're going to get $40,000 a month. We saw the opposition being critical of this program. They didn't want us to launch it. They said, oh, we don't need part-time jobs. We need full-time jobs. This is from a party, AFC and APNU, that 2 years ago were in government, and their policy making led not to the growth of jobs, but to maybe 30,000 jobs being lost because of their policy making. And I don't need to tell you here on this part of the country, in this part of the country, because you've experienced it just down the road from here. When they had a factory that was functioning, thousands of people working, creating a livelihood for their family, creating disposable income for the community, that was callously shut down. when we sought to bring the gas to energy project here to Wales, because they gave out much of the land, that they closed the factory, they disposed of the houses, they gave a lot of the lands out, they sold out the factory as scrap metal without any public tender. All of it is gone. We now have to try to recover some of the land that was given away. They did all of this, and then when we decided to bring the gas pipeline here, because with that pipeline coming here and a major power plant just down the road generating nearly 300 megawatts of power, that is nearly 3 times more than GPL currently supplies. They supply about 130 megawatts to the interconnected grid. You're going to have a 300 megawatt power plant that would allow us across this country to drop electricity prices by 50%, and that will happen in 2024. We're receiving the bids in September. But it would allow us right here at Wales, there would be a facility that would produce 3 times the amount of cooking gas that we currently use. We'll have to start exporting cooking gas from importing all of our cooking gas. You're going to have several new factories because they would utilize the gas here established just here. We anticipate that thousands, not 3,000, maybe about 5,000 to 7,000 high-paying new jobs will come right here in this area. So we see a lot of these initiatives as a stepping stone. So you're working part-time now, but we don't expect you to remain on this program forever. Of course, it is not a short-term program because it's not a 1 year. It's going to be there all the time, a multi-year program. I'm anticipating that all of you, as you may have heard, I've said this wherever I've gone to launch this program, that we want all of you to study too. If every one of you here needs to study either at the technical level or maybe even at the tertiary level, we can provide this scholarship, we can pay for those scholarships. So please don't just sit down, make sure that you get involved, apply for the scholarship program. We see very few applications. If you're not qualified, there is a remedial program. We have to now expand it outside of Region 4 and all across the country. We have to have places right in the different regions so that you can go through a remedial program, and then that remedial program, maybe after 4 to 6 months of doing the remedial program, then you can access a full-fledged scholarship in the other areas. I hope you're listening, reading, utilizing all of these opportunities. Do not become like some of the fossils that we have in this country. Every day we have some fossils who you would think that they speak for Guyana. Like a Mike McCormack with a one-man organization. He wants to have the last word on every project. Projects that we have in our manifesto, that we said we will do, that we went to the electorate saying to them we will do, and we received their mandate because they voted for the PDP. We're not going to allow one man or a front organization to stymie progress in the Guyana. And a lot of these people have lived their lives. They're in the sunset period in their lives. They're bitter about our past and our future. We can't allow them to inherit the country with that failed, bitter ideology. So you as young people, don't fall prey to them. You have another group called Article 13. He didn't get a job with the government that he said Irfan Ali promised him, so he set up his organization, a one-man organization. I saw even Tony Vera and the guy Suko, they were talking about trying to get the best tractor. They can't make a decision. The best tractor that we should invest in. They had a technical discussion. Now, we don't know we get the engineers to do that. Because he didn't get his way, it becomes the government is corrupt. Because people don't get their way, but he has lived his life. Sold out his estate just over here, lived his life. Don't fall prey to bitter people with a failed ideology. If you look through the newspapers, you would see them. They've lived their lives. David Hines, Vincent Adams, all of them. They are in the twilight, the end of their career and their lives, and they're bitter. You are the ones who are going to inherit this country. So you have to prepare yourselves for the future. They go into many Afro-Guyanese communities and say, oh, don't apply for the scholarship, you'll never get it. Half of the scholarships that were given out under the Gold Program, or nearly half, have gone to people in Region 4 and Afro-Guyanese too. Because we believe in a balanced development. We believe all of our people have to move forward. Every Guyanese, regardless of their race, their religion, or their gender. And that is what the PPP is all about. And that is why we stay. We've won several elections and we continue winning elections because we're broad-minded enough to make sure that we cater for all of the people of this country. This is important. Don't allow bitter people. So there, 5 ministers had scholarships under APNO. Simona Brooms got 2 scholarships of her children. They got over $30 million the government paid for those scholarships. They were not Guyana scholars. They got these scholarships. And then I always forget her name. But Annette Ferguson and the others. They don't leave an impression in my head. So she got a big scholarship too, and then go around the country encouraging people not to apply for scholarship. Every Guyanese wants to apply regardless of their race. When we went to Linden, they said the same thing to people here. Oh, you're never going to get jobs here. The PPP are not going to bring the jobs. Well, we did, and people now have seen the difference. So today, I'm not going to go into all of the details why we support, because it's a hot day. I see you're struggling. And I'm one person, I don't like to keep people waiting when they're struggling. And I'm sure Pierre Manic Chan gave you a lot of stuff there. Right? Talk your head off. So let me just say to you, I just wanted to bring that one simple message. Utilize this program as a stepping stone. Make sure that you give full 10 days work. It's not free money. When you're working for government now, treat people with respect the same way you want people to treat you when you go to government offices and you complain how government people don't treat you well and stuff like that. You make sure that you deal with people in your communities the same way. Study. We expect all of you to study. We expect you to become knowledgeable about the affairs of this country. Read the newspapers. Be discerning. Don't get stuck because you hear something on the internet, on social media. 90% of the things you read on social media are senseless, nonsense. But you listen to it. Don't stop listening or reading, but you have to have the ability to judge for yourselves. A lot of people try to steer you in a particular direction. You need to know where people are coming from, like this group that I just talked about. And sometimes you're going to hear tomorrow they say, oh, Jagdeo criticize all of them. Well, I'm tired of these people trying to hold our country back. They've been at this for almost 50 years. It's an industry now. negative about every single thing in the country. I saw Starbuck News saying today in an editorial, that it seems to be a deliberate policy not to pay public servants more. Did they say that when APNU took away the 1 month tax-free bonus from the joint services? The thousands of people that the PPP restored, they didn't say that. That's a 1 month tax-free bonus in their salary. They forget that. They forget the period when we got into office, when the minimum wage was $25 where it went to by the time we left office. We restored decency in the public sector from a pauperized public service. But they can only say that for people who don't know the history of this country or who are not aware of it. And we need to stand up to this sort of thing. We need to stand up for it. Because if we only allow this sort of analysis to creep into our policy making, we're dead. And that's one thing that the PPP will never allow to happen. We are not going to blow in the wind from one post to the next. We are firm standing. We have a clear ideology, and we have a goal which we outline in our manifesto. That is to educate our people, give them a world-class education, world-class health care, find good paying jobs for them, make sure they're safe in their homes, that sort of thing. At another point in time, we can talk about all the development here. The bridge, the development offshore in this region that will create maybe 3,000 jobs, because you're going to have the largest privately owned wharf just north of Reed and Hoop. That started construction. Now they're reclaiming the land now to go out into the sea to build that there. The bridge will alone cost $260 million US. That's a 4-lane high-rise bridge that will start construction soon. They're going to award a 4-lane contract from Crane all the way to the bridge, a 4-lane bypass, so you don't have to go through the Reed and Hoop area and later build a second road all the way to Parika. We are now looking for land to do 14,000 house lots in this region, because that is the number of applications we received. Almost all of the lands on the upper part going from I-flood is practically gone and private. So we are trying to take back some of the land at Wales and other places that they gave to people, some of them 5,000 acres. Without 5,000 acres can give you 20,000 house lots. 20,000. They gave a single individual to plant coconut trees, and they never even put down a baby coconut tree as yet. That is what APNU did. And so now we probably have to go, and you'll have court battles, but we'll make sure that we take back the land to develop housing, because we promised 50,000 house lots. And in this region, we're going to make sure that the 14,000 people who have applied, that they get their plots of land too, because that's very important for us. Just in this region, we're going to upgrade the best hospital. That is straight for major upgrading, and a new hospital would be built closer to the Parika end, a $30 million US hospital, where the infrastructure coming this way has to be upgraded, because all the bridges and the roads, etc., because a lot of activity will take place from the bridge coming down the river to Wales. A lot of the factories are going to be built and stuff, so they need to bring equipment, everything. That contract has already been awarded. There are lots of plans for this region for employment creation, healthcare, education, everything. And today I'm not going to talk much about that. Had it been less hot here, and I might have done that. But maybe there are other opportunities for doing so. Let me just say again, that, make full use of this program. You're gonna have full support of the PPP government if you want to progress. But your progress depends on you. not getting negative, getting up, doing things for yourself. And if you do so, you're going to have a government that is supportive of you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Vice President. And so you're now officially part of the vision of our government, and you have to realize the dreams and aspirations of the People's Progressive Party Civic as we outlined in the manifesto. So, Vice President, he has to go to IFLOC shortly, and because the place is so hot, we're going to take just a few issues or concerns that you'd like to raise with him. So who's going to be the first person? There's a mic in the middle, and then Vice President will respond to you.
Now, if there is anything that, if there is anything that you want me to follow up on personally, because we now have a unit at the office of the President that does this. A lot of people have issues with NIS, some have problems with their lease, they may have a problem with a plot of land or something else in government. Not the tin permits and stuff, gun licenses, because if I only open that up, we'd have everybody applying for gun licenses and tin permits. But any issue you want to have us follow up on, we have a number of people here. You may not get to raise the issue here, but go to them, give you a name and number, and then by this later in the week, next week, you'll get a call from the office of the President, and they will ask you what is the issue. So you don't need to tell them now. You just need your name and number. They'll call you, they'll find out what the issue is, and then they will follow up. So that is if you want to address personal issues. So when I'm gone, you can to raise these matters here. But if you have like community-based issues, I'm prepared to look at it, including roads and stuff, because we have a major program to do roads in the region. I didn't talk about that. Community roads. We've been focused a lot on the highway development, but we're now transitioning into community roads. So yes, please. Yes, this young lady.
On behalf of the city, we are thankful for the opportunity to work for the increase we have received a few years ago. We are thankful. As you know, our services are a very important one. Now, we are kindly happy that our job, what we are doing, we are not having no benefit. We are asking you that if we can have like.
So I know what you're saying, right? Because we have this issue where the super cleaners, they're on contract. So they're not on the establishment. So they don't get the benefits, yes.
So we're asking for leave, we're asking for gratuity, and those things we're asking for.
Okay, as part of, yeah.
I believe that we deserve to be treated as each and every other public servant. So I am asking you to just look into that matter.
Okay, I'm aware of it because this has been an issue right across the country, not just here in this region, right across. So we have to find a way of making sure that the super cleaners get more benefits. What we do now is, like these are on contract, so they're not on the establishment. So it's like security guards now, you hire a firm to supply this. So we have to make sure that without putting people on the establishment, because The last government increased the establishment by 10,000 people. So we now need to probably, in the contracts that you have, to make sure that some of the benefits are enshrined in the contract. But it's something that I'm glad you raised it. It's not a new issue. It has been an issue attracting attention for a while, and it has to be addressed. Just like how we are addressing so many other things. So I make a note of it, and we'll try to deal with it. It's not going to happen, and most likely we'll have to try to do this in the next budget, which will be around January, about 5-6 months from now.
So my boss is 17 years young.
Yes.
And we look forward for our maturity.
Yes, sure. All right.
Good afternoon, Vice
Yes.
President,
Good
and
afternoon.
everyone else. My name is Alana Fletcher. I was living in the U.S. since 1986. I came here 10 years ago on vacation. And I met this little girl who was a baby. Her mother died, and I took her. I didn't want to raise her in the U.S., so I went to Renningston, and I bought 6.5 acres of land.
Where?
Renningston, all the way in the back, next to Mariah's Lodge. Since I've been in the States since 1986, 10 years ago, I have no knowledge of what's going on with farmland. So I paid the money, I have the receipts, because I give them a through a pamphlet, and then I went back to the U.S. and sent the rest to Western Union. So that's my proof that I paid the money. And then when I came, I was told that the land has no papers. It has over 300 coconut trees and other stuff that I begin to harvest, and I put in a pig farm right there. I've been selling pigs at the Patentia market. I have a license for the stand.
Okay.
Through the business.
So why don't you get your name, and then you can come in and we can look into this, because this is a personal matter. So
Yeah.
what's happening now, though?
ExxonMobil's Muff Road is at the side of my farm. I'm thankful to God for that. And you're also putting in a road in front of my farm because they have to use it for the gas to shore.
All right. So we'll look at that. If you have, it's your land,
Yes.
then anything we do to disturb people's land, where if we encroach on their private land, etc., you have to be compensated.
Nothing like that.
No,
is
but
happening.
then that's what we will ensure. Okay?
I'm just worried about that I have no title
Oh, you
or
don't have,
papers.
yes, you don't have title to the
My
land.
money just went down like that to the owner who sold it.
All right. Well, then let's see what we can do. Okay, but that complicates it a bit if you don't have the documents, like title to the land. But we'll try to
Nobody
see.
has title in the back there. There's a lot of us
Yes.
that are farmers.
Well, then maybe we try to deal with everyone together. So why don't you try to arrange that? I will see all of the people together. Give them your name and number. Okay?
No problem.
All right. Because anyone who gets displaced here, we would have to ensure, once we want to bring development, we don't want to harm people's livelihoods. But sometimes, when you have, like I saw, they're dredging the river now, and suddenly the fishermen said some mud going into their seine, right? Of course, some mud may go into the seine, but we have to dredge the river. Some people think we must not touch the river. They want development. They want us to become like Manhattan, along the river, but we must not touch anything along. We must not touch the mangrove, we must not touch the river, nothing. Because a lot of those people who are saying this, they live in Region 4, and they have a cushy job, and they live in nice houses. They don't care much about the development here. We can't bother too much about them, but let me make this point. Anything where development that the state is involved in affects people, they must be compensated or treated fairly, and we will ensure that that happens.
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
I'm a part of 3, living at Wallace Delight for the road, Blood 4, right? And so I request, I live in a 10 by 10 house, I seek for help all the time. I have 3 children.
Where are you living?
Wallace Delight.
Okay.
At Wallace Delight, Blood 4 for the road, right?
Where is that? Wallace Delight?
Wallace Delight, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I have 3 children. And I seek for help.
All right, give them your name and number. You heard what I said, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right, we'll try to follow up and try to assist. What are you doing now?
I work in a day, so I set the scene and work for part-time.
You work in a day?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
And since the Korbani to the after the Korbani, sir, they had and they put the dog on the Silam. I go and report to all the NDC, the chairman, they must be the whole, they send it to the station, sir. Concerning me saying, right now there is why depending after the party job and me get nothing to the free son of himself. Right now we get nothing.
All right.
And they ain't giving no assistance concerning the sale or nothing, sir.
So what happened with your sin?
The sale, the cow head, the goats, and they put, no, the cow head, the goats, everything wrap up, they lock the sale. Right now, I just have to see the cow head where you standing.
What wrap up cow head?
Cow head, cow food. Then the Korbani do it after the Korbani, right, sir?
Oh, okay.
I'm hungry just right
Okay,
now.
all right.
Right, sir, do it after the Korbani. Ari and chairman of send me to report at the station and that was it. And
But,
right now,
all
I have
right,
3
so
children, sir.
don't worry. I'll find you first of all. We'll help you, but we'll find you a good job so you can work and feed your family. That's
Yes,
the
sir.
key thing.
Yes, sir.
So not because we don't like, everywhere we go, people want now this hamper culture. It's okay to give people when there is a disaster, but not all the time. We need to find jobs for people so they can earn and feed their
Thank
family.
you, sir.
So they're right, okay. All right.
Honorable Vice President,
Great.
it's an honor for me today to speak to you. It has been months, going into years trying to catch up with my Vice President. But I'm happy to know I got you today. I'm Pastor Jose Francis. I'm no stranger to you, Vice President. You visit our home or church in Charleston. I'm born and grew in Charleston. I'm Genesis Westford's nephew. No stranger to you again. I'm from Port Kaituma. I'm the only African pastor in Port Kaituma to have several churches up here. I'm the one who, in the local government, did opening prayer for our party. I'm also the pastor who break the law. For example, when they wanted you to walk around the airport, I am sure that you came through the airport. And from since then I lost all my contracts. I had a taxi service, brothers taxi. Also I had what you call daycare up there. I had schooling up there. And the first seat, the chairman, Osander for the primary and secondary, never lost the election in region number 1. And after that incident with you, Vice President, allowing you to come through the right road, then allowing you to go around, I lost everything. And one of our comrades, by the name of Ignatius Adams, used an opportunity. I'm shaking at this moment because everyone here knows me very well. I'm a canal number 2, I'm at health center here, I'm a breast general hospital nurse by profession also. I know my cousin, she's watching me, the Honorable Dr. Ford. And I have an issue.
All right, yeah, raise the issue, but you can put your name down so I can, once your name is on the list now, I'll get it to come back to me, right? And now that you mentioned your Jenny's nephew, so I'll look out for your name.
Thank you, sir.
Okay? All right then. Okay. But that is how vindictive Apnu was. People don't realize they just run around the place now as though they're altar boys. But they're very, very vindictive in their 5 years. Unbelievably so. If we had done what they did didn't have any case against us, but every single member of our party, Ramatar, Samuel Hines, Roger Luncheon, I had to go in, Nigel Darmla, Premanchan, every member, and Nandala had to go to Soku. finale for bogus charges. We now have actual cases of corruption. And now that they're emerging, I saw Jordan and the others, it's time that the SOCU starts stepping up its work too. Because we have actual cases of corruption, but they were unbelievably vindictive in the 5 years. And you have evidence of that. They took away all, because he allowed me to walk through his place, not to go wrong. They took away his contract when I went to Port Kaituma. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My point, I welcome this function and grant to all children. Being an ex-teacher, I'm disappointed with parents because COVID was there. There was a team system where the children get involved in their normal school work. But there are some parents in my area where I was living, I tried to assist some children. But when I asked parents to go out and help me doing some homework, the first thing they replied and said, "Everything is hard."
No, I know that attitude. That's a terrible attitude for our children, but that's what you have to help to change. Part of getting you here, the people who are hired here today and become government employees, we want you to work. If there is a daycare in the area, we can assign the regional chairman people to the daycare, because we're trying to place people closer to your communities so you can assist in daycare. If we have a group of people, let's say a skilled person, maybe an ex-teacher who is on this program, and they want to do lessons in their areas for their children, they can do it through this program, so they can help. So that is the kind of thing we want. If you have a health center in your neighborhood, we want people to be assigned there to help out. That is it. That is the purpose of this sort of program, to get you more involved in communities and helping.
I understand that. That is what I was trying to do in my area. But what I'm making up, we're giving this grant. We welcome it. Parents are in need and whatever. But then are these children, let's look for the new term. How many of them are being present every day in school? When I was teaching, there was a program in my area that when a child is absent for a period of time, like 3 days or for a week or whatever, we watch the register and we see if, okay, in a month, how many times this child is absent, a parent.
But I gather that is a standard thing in the schools. If it's not being done now, then the head teachers have to be spoken to. But that's the standard protocol for schools. And we're focusing a lot. We had a discussion about our education strategy and the need to make the head teachers more, not just to look out for the teachers, but as a manager, to give them management skills. We found when head teachers have management skills, ultimately the school would do better. You get better results because they know how to use their assets, human and other assets, and they have more, they implement the protocols better. So these are standard protocols. If they're not being observed in a particular school, then that head teacher is not fulfilling his or her responsibility, because this is the standard.
As I said, I'm an ex-teacher.
Yes.
And what I'm disappointed, yes, I welcome the cash grant, but I would like to see our children, the leaders of tomorrow, instead of having them absent and life in a lot of street, doing a lot of nonsense.
All right, I got your point, but that's, thank you. Right, thank you. But the head teachers have to do that. If the children are absent for a sustained period, then they have to find out what's going on. Yes, please. Oh, yes.
Good morning, sir. I have something I'm concerned about. Basically, crime in the country is very high. I have a program. I wrote twice to try to get to reach you, but I didn't get through. My name is Ari Slogan.
What is this program?
Basically a prison sector program where the government and the private sector would join together and build mini factories within prison. That would basically, within a 10-year period, transform these mini factories. No, just hear me, sir.
Yeah,
within
yes.
a 10-year period, this would transform these mini factories into multi-billion-dollar empire. You see, this is why Guyana is, we are not going forward, because we are not creating employment. No, sir.
But you also sound that extreme just like the others, and I want to be frank. You can't build multi-billion-dollar factory in prisons.
No, sir.
No, let me tell you about the prison reform. Now, clearly, we have to do much more in our prisons. I agree with you on that. So what we are doing now, because the prison was scattered, we now have 3 buildings going up at Luzignan that can house nearly 1,000 prisoners. What we're doing, we're bringing the women prisoners from New Amsterdam, we're going to build a building. Then we're putting in place a school that is compulsory schooling. Every day they have to go to school once you're in prison. So compulsory schooling. Yes, but I'm just saying that you can have a chance.
No, but I have to leave the country shortly, so that's why I prefer to explain to you.
No, but not here. You can come some other time, but not me. I can't be dealing with prisons, I can't deal with Exxon, etc. You gotta go and see ropes and bend.
But this is the development of the manufacturing industry. This would create employment within a 10-year period. I'm talking about mini factories, not multi-billion-dollar investment. Small investment.
I just said to you, the idea is a good one. It can't be multi-billion-dollar factory. Come on, because there's something called prison labor. People don't buy goods done by prison labor. It's sanctioned around the world. So that is why you can't develop a multi-billion factory in a prison. So it can do many operations, and that is what we're heading towards. Formal schooling, trade craft, etc. But you cannot use prison labor for large factories. And how many we are hoping? We are hoping to reduce our prison population, not to put more people in prison so that they can run the factory. 100,000 people. How many factories?
Just hear me for 1 second. Yeah. All I'm asking is one simple thing. Basically, if you set these programs, you're going to give these men an opportunity to earn their freedom. Because if I got 5 years in prison and I got an opportunity to work, and no, just hear me please.
Yes, but I just agree with you. I agree with you, so one is there to hear. And this is the extremism that we have, come on. We agree that we have to occupy people in prison. First of all, through formal schooling when they're going. Secondly, that they can learn a craft in prison. So when they come out, that they're useful. We're now putting in the infrastructure to do it, because when the prisons are scattered, you couldn't do that. It's a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure. So I agree with you that craft, that you have to train people in here. So that is something we agree on. But I disagree with the multi-billion-dollar thing.
It's a mini factory.
All right,
I
okay.
said it would turn out to be multi-billion.
Yes, okay.
You see, you're not allowing me to explain. But that is why our country can't go forward.
Yes.
Our factory's been closed. Unemployment is high. I'm asking simple, sir, that we can transform our life, our children's life. Yes, sir. No, sir, please. Hear me.
Listen, the thing is that I'm here to answer questions. The problem is...
not questions, sir.
You didn't ask a question, you want to make a speech.
I'm not making a speech, sir. I'm trying to explain to you how we can make steps towards creating employment in the future.
Anyhow, all right, I agree with you. We set up the mini factories.
Oil will have no value.
Right.
You explain to the citizen after 25 years, oil will have no value. Let's do our research.
Okay.
You know it, sir.
Yeah, all right, okay. The thing is, The problem is that we are hoping to reduce our prison population. We want people to come out. We want to set up the factories outside, not in prison. Set up the factories so people can work outside. That's our approach, not in prison. But we can do small things in prison for tradecraft. Let's move on. Yeah. Yeah. Lady there was trying to get me? Okay. This one first and then across it. Yeah, please.
Good morning, Honorable Vice President.
Yes.
My name is Melissa Dalton.
Yeah.
I'm living in South City, and I'm a concerned resident because we are facing some situation there over 90 years now.
Where is this?
South City.
Okay.
And we told the public about them to pay for the land. The majority of the residents already paid for the land. And when we paid for it, they said to me, they were going to get back to us.
Who did you pay?
We went into houses
Okay.
and we paid for the land.
How many persons?
Majority of the person.
All right. So I'm going to give them your name and number. So what we'll do is follow up. We'll call you and then I'll get yes, I'll get Colin Cole and the others to look into the matter for you. Okay? All right. I'll set up a meeting to go to them for you. So give them your number so you can explain. Yeah, you can set up there. Anything else? Anyone? Yes, this young lady there.
Pleasant good morning.
Yeah.
I have a problem with my family. I'm addressing this problem for my mother because
Is it a personal problem?
it's a problem with the village office.
Why don't you give them your name and number so we can then call you? Because you don't have to raise your personal problems here. Okay?
Okay, thanks.
Right, okay. And anyone else who has that sort of situation? Right, yes. Yeah.
Good morning, Cora.
Yes.
I'm having a problem with embassy in general. I was in here.
Which area?
The Lansdowne.
The Lansdowne.
I don't know if they were informed about this job that was given out to person, but the embassy are of not strong resistance. They say they're not going to accept your person to be working there.
I can't hear you. It's a bit muffled, yes.
Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
Yes.
They say that they're not going to accept persons who going to work for the part-time job. So I don't know if any other person will be having a problem with this embassy. But
They're not accepting what?
they don't want the workers who will be going for the part-time job to go in and work because they were not informed about it.
And they wouldn't be accepted?
They don't want the persons to work there.
Oh, well, if the Lansdowne doesn't want you to work at the NDC, we put you in the schools and other places, because that might be very political. We can put you in schools, health centers in the Lansdowne, etc., so you can serve people. And Nigel, you need to talk to them. You need to talk to them. Minister Darmlal will speak with them because they need to be helpful. They need to make sure that people, we don't want to place people too far from where they live. So if you're living in Lansdowne, we want to make sure as far as possible the people from Lansdowne are placed in the Lansdowne or maybe the neighboring villages. Okay? All right, okay. You. Yes. Just bring the microphone here. You put on the lid.
Good morning, everyone. Head Taylor, Honorable Vice President. My concern is I'm living in Mountfield. The NDC, yes, they're doing work, but I don't know who is responsible for our cross street, which is Glasgow Street. It was broken up for years now, and we can get proper access to. That's
Which street? So make sure that they get the name. And Minister Indar is here. He has been going around the area, so you should visit the community.
And
Okay?
there is the Grove Street and the Cross Street, which is Glasgow Street. It's been broken up here. Taxi door on the public. We can't go in with our roads and children comfortably and so on. Another thing.
So this is not like the area we cleared recently. That's Parkway Harmony going in at
We
the
have to
back.
go to number 1 road,
Okay.
and it's the Forest Cross Street by the Farmers Street.
Okay.
Yes. And another question, I'm speaking on behalf of my other colleagues in the part-time job for the branch NC. They want to know, since we signed the contract in July, if we're getting paid from July. And they want to know,
You signed the contract already?
yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, you should, yes.
And so we want to know,
Yeah.
and so sir, we want to know if this
So did people work though? Did they work?
Someone is starting to
Well,
work.
if they work, if they pay. All of the food turn out. If you turn, from the day you turn out, okay? Yeah. So on the day you turn out,
Then
yeah.
I will let them understand.
Okay.
And so we want to know if the 40,000 is just 40,000 or we be paying NIS because they have no
I think you're
program.
not paying any tax, only the NIS, because government will pay a share and you will pay. So you can get NIS benefits too. So you can get the NIS benefits.
Thank you.
So that we deducted the NIS only. Okay. So that you pay, how much do you have to deduct for NIS? About $2,000 or $3,000. Okay. But if you don't, you see, NIS is important because then you can claim benefits. If you fall sick or anything like that, you get benefits. The spectacles, all sorts of stuff. So you start getting into that. So it's like your insurance basically. And every year you can get benefits if you fall sick and stuff. Only NIS, but you're not paying taxes. Yes.
Good morning.
Yes. Yeah, good morning.
I want to raise a complaint against our city because this is about 4 times we give our name and say that
Hold it up close to your mouth.
yes. We give the name of the bell time for city. Up to any bell time number 1, I can give. And I give my name and
So anybody call you? Or they call you?
Yes.
So and when they call you from the office, right? What did they say?
They ask me what really you need and you tell them.
Okay, but then they will have to listen. When they call, remember it's like 5,000-6,000 people we gotta follow up on, not just you. So if they call you, at least you got a call. They will then put down the issue, write it down, and then they will send it to the minister and ask the minister what is happening here. So it takes a while for them to get back to you. It's not going to be immediately. But the key thing is that you give your name and they call you to find out. So the system is working. It will take a while. Okay? All right. Okay.
Good morning, Jagdeo, and everybody that you. Good morning. Everyone in the hospital who get an X-ray was CT scan. This hospital na natin like who get this morning.
Where the CT X-ray?
Yeah, get a CT scan.
Oh, well, let me tell you something now. What is these hospitals we're building, the 6 new hospitals, right? All of them will have now. So in this region, you're going to have 2 hospitals with CT scans. You're not going to have to go to Georgetown anymore, West Demerara, and the one down there, right?
We got this morning for get this scan. Don't get this morning for that your food.
But we're at Georgetown Hospital, you're doing the scan or you're going to go to the private? Private, that is precisely. No, but this is precisely what we're talking about because CT scan was seen as specialized service. A specialized service. So we now want to make it routine service. So if you in a Georgetown Hospital will basically give you like free drugs and free health care. But some of the specialized care you don't get here. That is why we're expanding the network now. Which hospital you gotta go to? Okay, all right, I see now, but that is what we do. Yes, let me hear what she's saying.
I can hear it through what he's saying. Now, I had to do a CT scan for my knee.
CT scan, yes.
And I had to pay at Georgetown Hospital $17,000.
$17,000, yeah, okay.
So it's not like at Georgetown Hospital you get different. You have to
Okay.
pay some money. I don't know if it's a part.
All right, I'll look into that. We're going to get Frank Anthony to come over here and talk to you all. Right. Okay. Yes. All right, we'll do 2 more questions, and the rest of you, if you want me to follow up on anything, give your name and number, then I can follow up. So this young girl, right, quickly, yeah. Yes.
I'm asking about the young. Everybody makes mistakes, right? Learning mistakes coming up. I'm putting this question to the young people that make mistakes in school, like getting pregnant, dropping out of school, and stuff. Well, due to me that I didn't get to part of my studies, because of certain stuff.
You don't have to mention that.
Yeah.
You don't have to mention all
I
that.
was pregnant with my daughter, and I wasn't proud of it, but I am not ashamed of it.
No.
And I always has tried my best to do the job I could, but clearly because I didn't make mistake, I can't apply to certain job. And I'm really working very hard to try to set an example for my daughter. So I've already over the fact of scholarship, but I wanted to know if
No. If you need help, we make sure that you get into the remedial program first. So even if you have not completed, and then you can move from there upwards, right? So make sure they get your name and take her name and help her, right, directly. So give your name directly to the minister. Right. No, I'm glad that you're very brave to raise it right here. Just have and send it through. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Mohammed Khan. I would like to ask you, sir, to the minister, if you can please patch this road here. If you notice, we got 3 schools. And we got some big hole right through the school.
All right.
If we can just patch the hole, if the road can...
Once before the main contract, you should do that, right?
From road end to...
But you got a minister who is assigned to this region who's in charge of roads, yeah. Huh? All right, okay, it will be done. It will be done.
In Patentia C, right? We got 5 main roads going in Stevens and Fast Street, right? We got 3 of this road is very bad, very bad. I don't know if those 3 main streets can be done until later on we can come to the Fast Street.
All right, so there are lots of areas in this region we're doing now. In Parfait, Harmony, a lot of roads there, Tushin, Zila, different parts, okay? So most of the money for this year's budget, it's a lot of money we put here, has been awarded. But if the roads are so bad, what we can do, we can always go to a supplementary. So you can visit, let's look at it, and even if we upgrade it well, eventually we have to do concrete or asphalt roads. Only those we're doing, the asphaltic concrete. We're not doing the chip seal road anymore.
I'll prevent that, that's all.
So let Indar visit
I
there.
think we got 3 schools, nursery, secondary, and primary, right? Now, if the government can please assist, do a walkway for these children when the school is over or when the school is over.
Where is the when they walkway?
From here, going straight to my straight past the school, to the children in the school. Because when they walk inside, they walk on the
public road. But listen, when they complete this road, they're gonna bring the road, the contract that is already awarded to pave the road in. Make sure that you look at the alignment and then let us do this. Get the community. Let us hire some people from the village and supply them with the stone and the cement and stuff like that and let them do it. Right? So let's do it directly. But make sure it doesn't affect the alignment of the road that they're going to be paved. Anyhow, no more issue. You're causing too much expenditure now.
Sorry, one last one.
Okay.
Why NIS, right? I got a problem.
Yeah.
NIS, my son got since last year, March 16th. He got a steal in the foot up to now, and after now he can get sent from NIS.
All right.
After he got in, I'm telling that I'm investigating this issue.
The NIS very slow, and that is why we have now the Minister of Finance focusing a lot of attention on it. So give us your name. Make sure that you, when they call you from the office, that you repeat all of the things you just said to me, including the NIS. So then I can follow up with Indar and have a record to see that he's actually getting it done. Okay? So make sure that you call and give them your name and number. All right, one last question and then that's it. Well, if you don't have any more, thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, okay, across here, yeah. Across here. Yes, greeting. Okay, no problem. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I'm here to ask you, sir, on your way to the hospital trade wrong. It is in a part of the world.
Which from?
No, the trade.
Oh, okay. Okay. Let this rainy season finish, and then because in my village too, I went up and the ground is bad. They play cricket in Unity, and they told me we gave them one of these mowers to cut the grass. So I'm saying, why are you not cutting the grass? You have a mower now. And they said to me, every time they go on the ground, it sinks. It's soggy. So we will fix a lot of the things. We have not had a dry season this year. For the whole year so far, we have not had a dry season. It's damaging the roads. You can't get to do a lot of the civil works, etc. So make a note. Please give them your name and number, and we'll follow up. But you can tell me when they call you from the office. Sure, go ahead.
Really easy. Start if you pass through there, it's
Where?
really easy.
Very easy, okay.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever been done that way.
All right, listen what I'll do. I'll make sure that Indar, the minister, come back here, and you all come and meet with him one evening, and take him and show him all of these roads. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
So you plan this when you come, okay? So the regional chairman and Indar, you are announcing the community that you're coming back here. You may need to make an announcement in the other villages, not just Patentia. So one meeting and then talk about all of these issues. Okay then, thank you very much. Thank you.